From the outside looking in, Shannon Sharpe's life in early 2024 seemed like the perfect post-NFL success story. He had gone from a Hall of Fame football career to becoming one of the most visible and marketable voices in sports media. His booming laugh, his unique charisma, and his strong opinions made him a natural fit for television. Between his hit podcast, Club Shay Shay, and his seat on ESPN's flagship morning show, he had carved out a lane that few athletes ever managed to reach after retirement. It was a rare second act, one that seemed unshakable. Fans tuned in not just for his takes on sports, but for his personality, his sense of humor, and his ability to mix sports talk with cultural conversations. Shannon was cashing the kind of checks that let him live comfortably for life, and had the kind of influence that made headlines whenever he spoke. In a crowded sports media world, he was a star. But beneath the polished exterior, there were cracks forming. Cracks that were visible to a few people who had been in the entertainment business long enough to recognize the warning signs. These people did not just hint at trouble. They told him directly that if he did not change certain personal habits, his career could implode in an instant. Those warnings would prove to be more than just good advice. They would turn out to be eerily accurate predictions of what was coming. In January 2024, comedian and cultural critic Katt sat across from Shannon for one of the most talked-about Club Shay Shay interviews of the year. Katt was in rare form that day, offering his sharp and often unfiltered observations about Hollywood, fame, and the traps that come with it. But somewhere between the stories and the laughs, he offered something far more valuable. He spoke about how the industry tests people, especially successful black men, offering them temptations and situations that can be career-ending. He painted scenarios where one bad choice could undo decades of hard work and strip away everything you had built. Katt did not keep his warning vague. He pointed to examples of high-profile men whose relationships with much younger women had ended in public scandals and legal trouble. In his view, the pattern was clear. The industry was full of opportunities for powerful people to fall into situations that could be used against them. His message was simple: protect yourself by making better personal choices, because not every problem in Hollywood is about talent or opportunity. Sometimes it is about survival. Shannon smiled, laughed, and kept the conversation moving. To him, it seemed like part of the show, part of the performance. What he did not seem to realize was that Katt was not being theatrical. He was speaking from a place of lived experience, and from watching this exact movie play out over and over with different names in the headlines. Only a month later, in February 2024, another voice joined the chorus. This time it was Academy Award-winning actress and comedian Mo'Nique. Her approach was different. Where Katt's warning had been layered with metaphor and industry knowledge, Mo'Nique's was plain and direct. She told Shannon in no uncertain terms that he needed to stop pursuing women decades younger than him. She spoke about the difference between short-term excitement and long-term stability. She described the value of a partner who was in the same stage of life, someone who could offer real companionship instead of constant tension and mismatched expectations. While her words had humor in them, there was nothing joking about the message. She understood the risks that came with age-gap relationships, especially for men in the public eye. There was the inevitable power imbalance, the different life goals, and the conflicts that could arise from both. Her warning was not about moral judgment. It was about protecting a career and a legacy. Shannon listened, smiled, and moved on. But like Katt before her, Mo'Nique was offering him a blueprint to avoid exactly what was coming. By April 2025, the situation both had warned about arrived in the form of a lawsuit. A woman who had started dating Shannon at age 20 when he was 56 filed a legal claim seeking $50 million. The allegations painted a picture of a toxic relationship filled with control, intimidation, and emotional volatility. On paper, it looked like a textbook example of the kind of high-risk dynamic Mo'Nique had been warning about. The age gap wasn't just a number. It represented a massive difference in life experience, maturity, and power. Those differences had created the exact kind of instability that both Katt and Monique had tried to get him to see. Reports suggested that Shannon's camp initially tried to settle the matter quietly, offering significant sums to keep the details from going public. But when those offers were rejected, the lawsuit became public record, and with it came an avalanche of media attention. The timing could not have been worse. ESPN was already under pressure in 2025. The network had been making high-profile cuts to on-air talent, tightening its roster and facing scrutiny over its hiring decisions. Owned by Disney, ESPN had to maintain a brand that aligned with a family-friendly image. Even unproven allegations could be enough to put someone's job in jeopardy. By mid-July 2025, the legal battle was over. Shannon's team reached a settlement. While neither side disclosed the terms, insiders speculated it could have been around $23 million. The agreement prevented the accuser from refiling the same claims, but did nothing to undo the public relations damage. The settlement did not bring closure. It brought consequences. Just 2 weeks later, on July 31, 2025, ESPN announced it was parting ways with Shannon Sharpe. The decision was made public, despite Shannon asking for it to be delayed so as not to overshadow his brother Sterling's induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The network declined. From a business standpoint, the decision was clear. Disney could not afford to have one of its most visible personalities connected to allegations of this nature, regardless of the legal outcome. In a climate where sponsors and viewers are quick to react to controversy, even the perception of impropriety can be enough to end a career. The public reaction was swift and often brutal. Social media lit up with clips from Shannon's interviews with Katt and Monique. People commented on how both had essentially predicted this scenario. Fans and critics alike pointed out that Shannon had been given the roadmap to avoid disaster on his own show, yet chose not to follow it. Some framed it as arrogance, believing he thought he was immune to the consequences that had taken down others before him. Others saw it as a case of someone chasing validation and excitement without thinking about the long-term risks. The phrase, playing stupid games and winning stupid prizes, appeared over and over in comment sections. Financially, the fallout was massive. Even with decades of NFL earnings and lucrative media contracts, a settlement of that size, combined with the sudden loss of a major ESPN paycheck, represented a huge financial hit. Critics lamented the loss of generational wealth, pointing out that much of what Shannon had built over his career was now gone. Reputation-wise, the damage was just as severe. The public image of Shannon as the wise, confident, and disciplined former athlete had been replaced by a perception of someone reckless, impulsive, and unwilling to listen to people who cared about him. The ESPN decision also fit into a broader trend in sports media. Networks are becoming increasingly cautious about who they put on air. Other high-profile personalities in recent years have been dropped after controversies, even if they were never found legally guilty of anything. In the current climate, being associated with a scandal is often enough to end a career regardless of the facts. Looking back, the tragedy of Shannon Sharpe's downfall is how avoidable it was. Two separate people sat across from him in the same year, told him in clear terms where his choices were leading, and encouraged him to change course. Both had enough experience to see the pattern forming. Both wanted to see him succeed. By August 2025, every prediction had come true. The lawsuit, the financial loss, the end of his ESPN career, the shift in public perception, all of it matched the warnings he had been given. This was not random bad luck. It was a preventable disaster born from ignoring advice from people who understood the game better than most. And perhaps the most sobering part is that it was not just about one relationship. It was about a pattern of decision-making, a refusal to acknowledge risk, and a belief that the rules that applied to everyone else somehow didn't apply to him. So as fans and observers watch this chapter close, they are left with a question. Was Shannon Sharpe simply unlucky, or was he the architect of his own downfall? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you found this breakdown revealing, and subscribe for more stories the sports world and media industry would have you not see.